Elias Ward had always believed space would feel quiet. That was the first thing he noticed was wrong when his ship entered the Aurelian system. The stars did not feel silent. They felt like they were humming, as if the universe itself was breathing in slow, careful rhythms. The sound was not something his ears could truly hear, but something deeper inside him seemed to sense it. He stood at the viewing window of the diplomatic vessel, hands folded behind his back, trying to look calm. Inside, his heart was beating much faster than he wanted it to. Humanity had only recently been invited into the galactic community, and Elias was one of the first official envoys ever sent beyond human space. Today, he was meeting a princess from a civilization older than Earth's recorded history. The ship slowed as a massive structure came into view. The Aurelian capital floated in open space, not built on a planet, but shaped like a great ring of crystal and light. Towers curved upward like frozen waves. Bridges of glowing energy connected distant platforms. Soft golden colors flowed through the city like gentle sunlight, even though there was no star nearby. Elias swallowed. "So this is it," he whispered to himself. A soft voice spoke behind him. "You are calm on the outside, your heart says otherwise." He turned to see Ambassador Lyra, a tall, silver-skinned being with eyes that reflected light like polished glass. She had been assigned to guide him through the first steps of Aurelian culture. "I'm fine," Elias said, forcing a small smile. Lyra tilted her head. "Humans often say that when they are not." Before he could reply, the ship docked. The floor gave a gentle vibration, and the doors opened to reveal a long bridge made of clear crystal. Beneath it, space stretched endlessly, stars glowing like distant candles. Elias took a slow breath and stepped forward. Every step felt heavier than the last, not because of gravity, but because of what this moment meant. If he failed, humanity might be remembered as careless, rude, or unworthy of trust. If he succeeded, doors could open for generations. At the end of the bridge waited a group of Aurelian officials, tall and graceful, wearing flowing robes that shimmered like liquid light. And in the center stood Princess Seraphine. She did not wear a crown. She did not need one. Her presence alone made the air feel different, like the space around her had chosen to pay attention. Her skin glowed faintly, like moonlight on water, and her eyes were deep and calm, filled with something that looked like both kindness and endless distance. Elias bowed the way he had been taught. "Princess Seraphine," he said, "on behalf of Earth and the people of humanity, I thank you for welcoming me." She studied him for a long moment. Her gaze was not cold, but it was sharp, as if she were looking past his words and into the thoughts behind them. "You are very young," she said. Elias blinked. "I'm 36. She smiled slightly. "My people measure time differently." That made sense, he supposed. The formal greetings passed quickly. There were gentle lights, soft music that seemed to come from nowhere, and a slow walk through the outer halls of the capital. Everywhere Elias looked, he saw things that made his mind struggle to keep up. Floating symbols that shifted like living ideas. Walls that became windows when someone approached. Creatures of light that drifted above reflecting pools. But the humming feeling inside him never stopped. As they moved deeper into the palace, the air seemed to grow thicker. Not physically, but emotionally. Elias felt like he had stepped into a place where every action mattered more than it should. The princess gestured for the others to remain behind. "Walk with me," she said. They moved down a quieter corridor where the glowing walls dimmed into soft blue light. The sounds of the court faded, leaving only the low, steady hum that Elias could not explain. "I have been told humans value honesty," Seraphine said. "We try," Elias replied. "Then I will be honest with you," she said. "You are not here only to represent your people. You are here to be tested." Elias slowed. "Tested how?" She stopped walking and turned to face him. "This court is old, older than most stars you can see from your world. We survive because we follow rules." She raised 3 glowing fingers. 3 rules to be exact for you and for all who walk these halls." Elias nodded. "I'm listening." Her first finger glowed brighter. "First rule, never interrupt a royal procession. When the court moves as one, it must not be broken." Her second finger lit up. "Second rule, never touch Aurelian technology unless invited. Many of our systems are alive in ways your people may not understand." Her third finger shone. "Third rule, never question the choir." Elias hesitated. "The choir? The voice that guides our future," she said. "It is not a person and not a machine. It is the sum of our knowledge, our history, and our predictions. It has kept us safe for thousands of years." He felt a strange chill when she said that. I can follow rules, Elias said. She looked at him closely. That is not what worries me. They resumed walking, but something had changed. The humming inside Elias grew stronger, like a distant storm slowly coming closer. They entered a wide chamber with a high, open ceiling that showed the stars above. Rows of Aurelian nobles stood in perfect lines. At the far end, a wide path of light marked the route of the royal procession. Lyra joined Elias at his side. This is an honor, she whispered. Few outsiders are allowed to witness this. The music began. It was beautiful, soft, flowing like wind through tall grass. The nobles lowered their heads. The princess stepped forward to take her place at the front of the path, and that was when Elias felt it. The humming inside him changed. It became uneven, broken, wrong. He pressed a hand to his chest. His heart began to race, not from fear, but from a deep, strong sense that something was about to go terribly wrong. He looked around. The Aurelians were calm, peaceful. They heard only the music, but beneath it, Elias felt something else. A low vibration, like the sound of a giant object moving through water, even though there was no water, no object, and no sound anyone else seemed to notice. His mind raced. Was this just nerves? Imagination? The princess stepped forward. The vibration grew stronger. He remembered the first rule, never interrupt a royal procession. His legs moved before his thoughts could stop them. Princess, Elias called out. The sound of his voice shattered the silence. Gasps rippled through the court. Lyra reached for his arm, her eyes wide with shock. Elias ran forward and grabbed Seraphine's sleeve, pulling her gently but firmly off the path of light. For a single, endless second, everything froze. Then the air itself seemed to bend. A wave passed through the space where the princess had been standing. It was invisible, silent, and smooth, like a shadow made of nothing. The light path flickered and went dark. The music stopped. The nobles looked around in confusion. Elias felt the wave pass through him like a cold breeze, raising the hair on his arms. Whatever it was, it had been real. The princess stared at the empty space on the path. Slowly, she turned to Elias. You broke the first rule, she said quietly. Yes, he replied, his voice shaking. Because something was coming, I don't know what, but I could feel it. The court began to murmur. Lyra stepped forward. Your Highness, the sensors detected nothing. Seraphine raised a hand, and the room fell silent. She looked back at the path, then up at the stars above. Summon the choir, she said. Moments later, the air filled with soft light. Shapes formed not into a body, but into patterns that moved like thoughts given form. A calm, layered voice spoke from everywhere and nowhere at once. The future remains stable, the choir said. No threat was detected. The princess did not look at it. She looked at Elias. I stood where death should have been, she said slowly, and yet I still stand here. Elias nodded. I don't know how to explain it, but humans hear storms before they arrive. We feel earthquakes before the ground breaks, and just now I felt the universe take a breath it shouldn't have. The choir's light shifted. Human perception is limited. Your conclusion is flawed. Seraphine raised her hand again. For the first time in centuries, she said, my rules were broken and my life was not. She turned to Elias, her eyes filled with something new, curiosity. Walk with me, she said. I believe, Envoy Ward, that your people may be hearing something the rest of the galaxy has forgotten how to listen to. As they left the stunned court behind, Elias felt the humming inside him settle into a slow, steady rhythm. The universe, it seemed, was still speaking. And humanity had just answered. Elias walked beside Princess Seraphine through a corridor that no longer glowed like the others. The light here was softer, almost like the quiet glow of early morning back on Earth. The walls were smooth and curved, and faint patterns moved across them like slow clouds. Behind them, the court remained frozen in confusion, but the princess did not look back. You should be afraid, she said. Elias blinked. I think I already am. She glanced at him, and for the first time a small smile touched her face. Good. Fear means you understand the weight of what you did. They entered a wide room filled with floating orbs of light. Each orb held images inside it, stars being born, planets forming, civilizations rising and fading into memory. Elias stopped walking without meaning to. This is the memory hall, Seraphine said. The choir uses it to remember what the universe once was, so it can decide what the universe should become. Elias stared at an orb that showed a blue world covered in oceans and clouds. That one looks like Earth, he whispered. Seraphine studied it. Many worlds look like yours, few survive like yours. That made him uncomfortable, though he was not sure why. The humming inside him returned, softer than before, but steady. "Why did you bring me here?" Elias asked. "Because I need to know if what you felt was real," she said. "And because the choir does not like being questioned." As if hearing its name, the air shimmered. Light gathered in the center of the room, forming the familiar moving shapes. The calm voice returned. "Princess Seraphine," the choir said. "Your actions have disrupted a stable timeline." She crossed her arms. "My timeline nearly ended on that path." "There was no danger," the choir replied. Elias stepped forward before he could stop himself. "There was, I felt it." The choir's light pulsed slowly. "Human sensation is not a valid source of data." Seraphine looked between them. "Then let us gather data." She walked to a crystal platform in the center of the room. Elias followed, his steps careful, as if the floor itself might react to him. "Show me the moment of the procession," she said. The orbs shifted. The room filled with a moving image of the ceremony from above. Elias saw himself standing still, nervous and small, among the tall Aurelian figures. The princess pointed. "There!" The image slowed. A thin ripple passed through the space where she had stood. It was so faint that Elias almost missed it. "That," Elias said, "that's what I felt." The choir was silent for a moment. "That distortion is within acceptable limits," it finally said. "It does not represent a threat." "Acceptable to who?" Seraphine asked. "To all known species within the conquered," the choir replied. Elias frowned. "Except humans." The light shifted again, as if thinking. "Explain," the choir said. Elias took a breath. "On Earth, our world is loud. Storms, oceans, animals, machines, people. We grew up learning to hear small changes inside big noise. When something feels wrong, even if we can't see it, we pay attention. Sometimes that feeling saves lives." Seraphine looked at him carefully. "You felt this distortion like a storm before rain." "Yes," Elias said, "exactly like that." The choir's pattern slowed. "Your species was not included in the predictive models," it admitted. "Human perception was classified as inefficient." Elias let out a small, nervous laugh. "We hear that a lot." Seraphine stepped closer to the glowing shapes. "If the choir did not predict this, what else has it missed?" The room grew very quiet. "Prediction is based on known variables," the choir said. "Unknown variables cannot be measured." "Then measure us," Seraphine said. Elias felt his chest tighten. He hadn't expected that. The princess turned to him. "I am asking you, Elias Ward, not as a ruler, but as a person. Will your people help us hear what we cannot?" He thought of Earth. Of cities full of noise and life, of children playing in the rain, of old radios picking up strange signals from the dark. "I think we already are," he said. "We just didn't know the galaxy was listening." The choir's light spread outward, touching the walls, the orbs, the air itself. "Begin integration," it said. "Human perception will be added to future projections." Seraphine exhaled slowly, as if she had been holding her breath for a very long time. In the days that followed, the capital changed. Humans arrived in small numbers at first. Scientists, listeners, observers. They were placed in quiet rooms near deep space sensors and star mapping systems. They wore simple headsets and sat in stillness, not looking at screens, but feeling the hum of the universe the way Elias had. At first, the Aurelians did not understand what they were doing. "They are not measuring," Lyra said one day as she watched a human observer close her eyes and tilt her head slightly. "They are listening," Elias replied. The first warning came from a young human named Mara. She had been sitting near a star monitoring array when she suddenly stood up. "That star is about to change," she said. The Aurelians checked their systems. Everything looked stable. But hours later, the star released a powerful burst of energy that would have damaged several nearby worlds if not for the early warning. After that, no one laughed at the humans anymore. Seraphine began meeting Elias often. They walked through gardens that floated in open space, where plants grew in glowing spirals and water drifted like gentle clouds. "You are changing my empire," she said once. "I didn't mean to," Elias replied. She smiled. "That is how the most important changes usually begin." The humming inside Elias became a comfort instead of a warning. It felt like a conversation now, not a threat. One evening, as they watched a distant nebula glow in shifting colors, Seraphine asked, "Do humans always break rules when they feel something is wrong?" Elias thought about it. "Not always, but we've learned that rules are made by people and people don't always see everything." She nodded slowly. "Neither does the choir." They returned to the memory hall, where the orbs now showed new paths, worlds saved, stars avoided, dangers softened instead of faced. The choir spoke again. Human integration has increased survival projections across the conquered by 17%. Seraphine raised an eyebrow. Only 17? Change takes time, the choir replied. Elias smiled. We're pretty good at that. But not everyone was happy. Some of the older nobles whispered that humans were disrupting ancient traditions, that the princess trusted them too quickly, that the choir should not change for a young species from a noisy world. One night, Elias stood alone on a balcony, looking out at the endless stars. The hum felt restless. Seraphine joined him. They are afraid, she said. So are we, Elias replied. She leaned on the railing, something he noticed Aurelians rarely did. You broke my first rule, and now my people question all three. Elias looked at her. Is that bad? She considered it. It is uncomfortable, he nodded. Growth usually is. The stars shifted as the capital slowly rotated. Elias, she said quietly, if the choir had been right and nothing happened on that path, would you still have broken the rule? He thought about the feeling in his chest, the certainty. Yes, he said, because sometimes doing nothing is the most dangerous choice. She smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. The hum inside him softened, like the universe agreeing. Far away in the deep dark between galaxies, something changed course. It was slow, silent, invisible. But now someone was listening, and soon someone would feel it coming. The first sign did not come as a warning light or an alarm. It came as a feeling. Elias was sitting in the listening room, eyes half closed, hands resting on the smooth surface of the table. Around him, other human observers sat in quiet circles, their faces calm, their breathing slow. The Aurelian sensors filled the air with soft tones and drifting light, showing star paths, energy flows, and moving lines of data. The hum inside Elias changed. It was not loud. It did not rush, it simply shifted, like a gentle river finding a new path. He opened his eyes. Does anyone else feel that? He asked. Myra looked up from across the room, her head tilted slightly the way it always did when she focused. Yeah, she said, it's not danger. But it's big. Lyra, standing near the doorway, stepped closer. What do you mean by big? Elias stood. I mean something out there just decided to move. They walked to the main viewing platform, where the great star map floated in the air like a living sky. Lines of light connected systems across the conquered. Small dots marked worlds, stations, and ancient routes. Elias pointed to a dark area near the edge of the map. There, he said. That space feels empty, but it's not. Something is passing through it. The Aurelians checked their systems. The choir appeared, its light forming slowly, calmly, as always. There is no recorded object in that region, it said. Myra crossed her arms. There is now. The choir paused. Human perception continues to detect anomalies beyond current sensor range, it admitted. Princess Seraphine arrived moments later, her expression focused, her movements quick but still graceful. Show me, she said. The map expanded. The dark space grew larger, revealing faint lines that had not been there before. They were not solid shapes, but patterns in the way the stars behind them bent and shifted. It's like looking at heat in the air, Elias said. You can't see it, but you can see what it does to everything else. Seraphine studied it carefully. What is it? Elias shook his head. I don't know, but it feels old, slow, and curious. The choir's light pulsed. No known classification matches this phenomenon. Seraphine turned to Elias. Then we will make a new one. Over the next days, the conquered changed again. Listening stations were built near the edge of known space. Human observers worked alongside Aurelian analysts, sharing not just data, but feelings, impressions, and strange instincts that did not fit into numbers. Some Aurelians struggled with this. You trust emotions over evidence, one noble said during a council meeting. Elias stood calmly. We use both, you just haven't learned how to measure the first one yet. Seraphine supported him. Neither had we until now. The strange presence in deep space continued to move, slowly, gently, like a drifting island in a cosmic sea. It did not aim for any world. It did not avoid any path. It simply passed through the galaxy as if the stars were markers on a long, quiet road. Elias and the others felt it days before the sensors confirmed its new position. What does it want? Lyra asked one evening as they watched the map update. Elias considered the question. I don't think it wants, I think it listens. That idea stayed with Seraphine. She ordered a message prepared not in sound or light, but in pattern. a gentle ripple of energy sent into the space ahead of the moving presence. It was not a command or a warning, it was a greeting. The galaxy held its breath, nothing happened. Then slowly the hum inside Elias softened, changed, responded. "It hurt us," he whispered. The presence shifted slightly, its path bending just enough to pass farther from inhabited systems. The choir spoke quietly. "This outcome was not predicted," Seraphine smiled. "That is becoming a pattern." As the days passed, something else changed too. Other species began to ask questions. The Cathari, who saw the universe in waves of color instead of light, joined the listening teams. The Thalen, who felt gravity like touch, added their own strange awareness to the growing network. The conquered became something new. Not just an alliance of worlds, but a shared way of sensing the universe. Elias walked through the capital and felt it in the air. Conversations were louder. Laughter was more common. Even the glowing walls seemed brighter, as if the city itself enjoyed the change. Seraphine noticed it too. "My people used to believe the choir was our greatest creation," she said one day as they walked through a floating garden. "Now I wonder if it was only our first step." Elias watched a group of children from 3 different species chasing a drifting ball of light across the open platform. "We build tools," he said. "Then sometimes those tools help us build each other." She laughed softly. "You make everything sound simple." "We like simple," he replied. "It helps when the universe gets complicated." The presence in deep space continued its slow journey. It never came close, it never turned back, but it did change. The humans felt it becoming more aware, more focused. One night, Elias dreamed of standing in an empty field under a sky full of moving stars. The hum was all around him, not in his chest, but in the air, the ground, the space between every thought. When he woke, he knew something had shifted. He rushed to the listening room. Mara was already there, so was Lyra, so was the princess. "It's closer," Mara said, "but still far," Elias replied, "and still listening." The choir appeared, its light more active than usual. "Human influence continues to alter unknown variables," it said. "This is not a negative outcome." Seraphine raised an eyebrow. "That may be the nicest thing you've ever said about us." The presence sent another ripple through space. This time the Aurelians felt it too. "What was that?" Lyra asked, her eyes wide. Elias smiled. "Welcome to the conversation." Across the conquered, worlds paused. Stars flickered. Energy fields shifted like gentle waves on a shore. It was not dangerous. It was curious. The galaxy was no longer alone. Seraphine stood at the great balcony overlooking the capital. Elias joined her, the hum steady and warm inside him. "Do you think it understands us?" she asked. "I think it's trying," he said. She looked at the endless stars. "So are we." Below them, the capital glowed with a mix of colors that had never existed before, shaped by many species, many minds, many ways of seeing. The choir spoke one last time that night. "The future is expanding beyond previous limits," it said. Elias laughed quietly. "That sounds like a good problem to have," Seraphine nodded. "You broke my first rule, you changed my empire, and now you may have changed the universe." He looked at her, surprised. "I just listened," she smiled. "Sometimes that is the most powerful thing anyone can do." Far away in the deep dark between galaxies, the ancient presence adjusted its path once more. Not away, but closer. And this time the galaxy was ready to listen back. The hum did not fade when Elias woke. It stayed with him, steady and warm, like a quiet promise that the universe had not finished speaking yet. Light from the capital's artificial sunrise filled his room, painting soft gold lines across the walls. Outside, the great ring city drifted slowly through space, its towers and gardens glowing with life from many worlds. Today felt different. He could not explain why, but the feeling in his chest told him something important was about to happen. When he entered the main listening hall, everyone was already there. Humans sat beside Aurelians. Cathari shimmered in waves of color. Thalen rested heavy and still, feeling the pull of distant stars through the floor. The choir's light floated above them all, calm but brighter than usual. Princess Seraphine stood at the center. "We are no longer waiting," she said. "We are ready." Elias took his place among the listeners. He closed his eyes and let the hum guide him. The presence in deep space was closer now, not close enough to see, but close enough to feel clearly. It was no longer just a shadow in the stars. It had a shape in his mind, not a form, but of intention, curiosity. The galaxy breathed together. The choir spoke, its voice softer than Elias had ever heard it. Human perception and multi-species integration have reached a new threshold. A response is possible. Seraphine nodded. Then let us answer. The capital sent out a signal, not a beam, not a message, but a pattern made from every way of sensing the universe they had learned to share. Sound for those who heard, light for those who saw, gravity waves for those who felt, and something deeper for those, like humans, who listened with their hearts as much as their minds. The signal moved through space like a gentle ripple on a still lake. Elias felt it leave. Then he felt it come back. The presence responded. The room filled with a new kind of hum, not inside Elias this time, but in the air itself. The walls glowed brighter. The star map flickered, showing a soft bend in space where nothing had been before. "It's here," Myra whispered. A shape formed, not solid, not bright, more like a place where the universe had decided to pause and look at itself. The Aurelians gasped. The Cathari's colors flared in surprise. Even the choir's patterns shifted uncertain. Elias stood slowly. He did not know why, but it felt right. The presence did not move closer. It did not move away. It simply stayed. "Hello," Elias said. The word felt small but honest. The hum changed. Seraphine stepped forward beside him. "We welcome you," she said. "You travel far. You are not alone." The presence did not speak, but the feeling it sent back was clear. It had never known that. The choir spoke almost to itself. "This entity does not follow predictive paths. It observes them." Elias smiled. "Sounds familiar." The capital held its breath as the presence shared something in return. Images filled the minds of the listeners, not pictures but feelings, a long journey through empty space. Stars being born and dying, galaxies drifting like islands on a dark sea, and always the quiet question, "Is anyone else out here?" Seraphine felt tears form in her eyes, though she did not know why. "Yes," she whispered. "We are." The presence shifted again, not closer, but clearer. The choir adjusted its light. "New data received. The future has expanded beyond all known models." Elias laughed softly. "You're going to need a bigger system." The moment did not end in fireworks or sudden change. It ended in understanding. The presence did not stay forever. It did not join the conquered or ask for anything more. It simply added the galaxy to its long memory and continued on its path, a little less alone than before. When it faded from their senses, the room stayed quiet for a long time. Finally, Seraphine spoke. "We have crossed a line we did not know existed," she said, "and we did it together." The conquered changed again after that day, not in rules or systems, but in spirit. Worlds opened their listening halls. Children were taught not just how to see the stars, but how to feel them. The choir became a guide, not a ruler, its predictions shaped by many voices instead of one perfect path. And humanity found its place among the galaxy, not as the strongest, not as the smartest, but as the ones who listened when the universe whispered. Elias walked with Seraphine through the same corridor where she had once given him 3 rules. "Do you remember them?" she asked. He nodded. "Never interrupt a royal procession. Never touch Aurelian technology. Never question the choir." She smiled. "I am officially retiring all 3, he laughed. "That's going to make a lot of people nervous." "Good," she said. "It means they are paying attention." They reached the great path of light where the procession had once been broken. It glowed brighter now, open and wide. Seraphine stepped onto it and turned to face the gathered crowd. "Today," she announced, "this path belongs to everyone." Representatives from many worlds stepped forward. Humans, Aurelians, Cathari, Thalen. Even beings who moved like shadows and light. Elias felt the hum rise again, not as a warning, but as a song. The choir spoke one last time during the ceremony. "The future is no longer a single line. It is a shared space." Seraphine looked at Elias. "That is your people's gift." He shook his head. "We didn't give it. We just noticed it was already there." As the procession moved forward, not in perfect lines, but in a flowing, living shape, Elias felt something settle inside him. He was no longer just an envoy. He was part of a conversation as old as the stars. Later, he stood alone on the balcony where he had once felt afraid. The galaxy stretched out before him, wide and open and full of quiet possibilities. Myra joined him, holding a small device that glowed softly. "The listeners back on Earth are picking up the hum now," she said. "Not all of it, but enough." Elias smiled. "Took us long enough." Seraphine approached, her presence calm and steady. "Will you stay?" she asked. "For a while," Elias said. "There's still a lot to hear." She nodded, "And a lot to learn." They stood together, watching the stars drift by. Far away, the ancient presence continued its journey, carrying the memory of a galaxy that had finally answered back. The hum inside Elias blended with the one in the air, the walls, the space between worlds. The universe was no longer just something to explore. It was something to listen to. And humanity, for the first time among the stars, had found its true voice.